Hi, how are you guys doing today? And welcome back to Jacqueline Marie's Art. So today I wanted us to talk about the thing known as a love triangle, right? So as we know from basic math in school, a triangle has three sides. So when we put this in human terms, we know that a love triangle usually involves three people. Sometimes it involves more, like four, because it could be two couples intertwined somehow. All right, so let's talk about a love triangle and why they are so dangerous and they are no good for you and they should be totally avoided. Okay, love triangles usually involve a great level of deception. It is usually somebody or people who are in relationships or somebody who is in a relationship who's dealing with a person who is not in a relationship. Sometimes the person who is in the relationship tells the single person that they are single and give the illusion that they are free and available. So the person that they are already in a relationship with is deceived, and the person who is single and dating them is deceived too, because they think they have found somebody that they could possibly build a life with, depending on where their head is at. Okay, so let's look at this from the men's point of view. Men are generally known to be the ones who get mixed up in love triangles. So women do this too. We're going to touch on that. So a man will already have his own woman that he's dedicated to. It could be like a live-in girlfriend, a live-in baby mama who's also a live-in girlfriend, or a wife, you know. And then he sees somebody else outside that he finds very attractive and he gets mixed up with that lady. Sometimes the guy does tell the lady that he's already involved. This is to set the tone that don't expect me to leave my woman for you, but we could still have a relationship because, I would like whatever you have. So generally, it usually goes where there is a deception where the person doesn't know about the other person. So either way, whether you know or not about the guy's other person, you should really try to avoid this at all costs. What is the best way to avoid these kind of relationships? It is always going to be the number one rule of this channel. Do not have sex with people you are not married to. This is the best way to preserve your sanity, your health, and your overall emotions, which are tied to your sanity. All right, so if you meet a guy, there is a 99% chance that he is already going to be in a relationship, right? So you can't go on what he tells you that I'm single. Because usually when we meet somebody, we're like, oh, we like the person, our guards come down, and in like a few days, we're in bed with the person. And we have entangled ourselves in a very deep emotional way. So this makes it very difficult to walk away from that detrimental relationship. And we really didn't get to know enough about the person before we did this. So when you meet a guy, you need to first find out, are you available? Are you single? Am I talking to somebody's husband? Am I talking to somebody's baby mama? Or, just a guy who has a girlfriend. This is a guy with no baby mama or whatever. You need to find these things out because there is a 99% chance that the guy is going to say that he is single. So I'm going to touch on a very sensitive topic and say that almost no black man that I've ever met has ever been single. I'm just going to single out that group because women really like this group and they're usually taken. They usually have someone. So they're like at the top of the food chain. Everybody is vying for this particular group. So there's a 99% chance when you meet this particular man, they have someone already. Look, this is not to bash them or anything, but this is just the reality of the situation. So this should also follow with other men too from other groups. So you find out, you date the guy. How do you date without sleeping with somebody? Because sleeping with people is the norm in relationships, but it's abnormal made normal. You don't meet up at their place regularly. You don't bring them to your place regularly. I know this is hard. And, money can be tight and dates are expensive. So you could go for coffee. You could go to the park. The park is very nice in the summer. This is just to give you an idea. So you get to know the person, all right? Because this is all about protecting yourself and your sanity. All right. So You just ask him a bunch of questions about himself. Do you live alone? Who do you live with? What is your life all about? And you could find out his name, and it's also good to give a background check if possible. I know guys will not like to hear this, but we are living in an age of deception have never been more widespread. So you have to move cautiously in this life. We have been moving very foolishly, so we have to start moving cautiously as to preserve ourselves as much as possible. So usually the guy has someone, and where does the problem comes in if the woman doesn't know? Well, the problem is going to come in because eventually she could know. A lot of women are detectives, and they will snoop around their man and somehow find out, or somebody could tell them. And depending on the person who we're dealing with, this could ignite a great amount of rage inside the person. Because keep in mind, sex is not a physical thing alone, it is a highly spiritual thing. I cannot stress that enough. I know society has told you that it's just some casual thing. Nothing could be further from the truth. It involves your whole entire being. It involves your mind, will, your emotions, your love, your heart, your soul. Everything blended up in one is in that. So you have to understand the person he's already with has given him all these things. And to know that he is sharing this with somebody else is gonna 99% of the time ignite a lot of rage and fury, and it's going to be directed at you, the woman, because the anger, I've noticed, is always directed at the woman, because it's rarely ever directed at the man, because it seems as competition, and that you're the one that's there that could threaten their relationship. So this is how people view that stuff. You already know that. Maybe you felt like that yourself, about your man at some point. So we have to keep in mind that women 99% of the time direct their rage at the other woman. They always call the woman a home wrecker. I don't agree with that, because the woman did not make any she did not make any commitments to you. Your guy did, and he's a big strong man or a short strong man. There's nobody who could go out and be like, hey, you come be with me, or else. Nobody could overpower him or do that to him. He does that on his own free will. So the rage is supposed to be directed at the guy, but it's generally directed at the woman. So when this happens, the person's heart becomes very darkened. Keep in mind, they're already living, possibly 90% of the time is with a guy who they're probably not in a real commitment with as a marriage, I'm saying. So they're already doing it wrong too. A lot of people have died behind this behavior. The persons have sought them out and have shot and killed them. They have shot and killed sometimes both together, the man who's cheating and the woman. I was actually just watching a video just now that actually inspired this video. And the guy met a girl, or was dating some other girl that he wanted to marry, and he proposed to her, and she accepted. She was very happy. She was a mom already of 8 kids. It didn't say that any of the kids were his, and also he had somebody else that he was already involved with, but he didn't really break it off because he was still sleeping with the person. So the person who he was sleeping with, that he was trying to leave for the woman he wanted to marry, she got enraged, and she went and she murdered the woman he was going to marry. Because keep in mind, sex is a thing that is relegated by God, that's supposed to be kept in the perimeters of marriage. He made sure when God designed it to put an edge of protection around it. It is not something that should be done casually or in a blasé type of way, the way we're doing it by just shacking up, or without any real commitment. It's called a covenant, really. So why is it done like that? Well, because all of the strong and powerful emotions that come with this thing really are not, it can't really be contained outside of marriage. You understand? Because marriage is a real commitment, but we're all doing it without this edge. It's like fire that is not contained. It could get out of hand and burn down the whole entire building or the whole house. You understand? So yeah, she ended the girl's life. And this is very normal reaction for this kind of relationship, because the word of God says Can a man take fire into his lap or into his bosom and not get burned? This is what that's pertaining to. So do you see how deadly this is for you? Why you gotta watch yourself? Or yeah, you could be the victim of somebody's jealousy and anger that is directed towards you. And once you start sleeping with this guy, there's a dangerous person around the corner. You've already hooked yourself in a spiritual way. So it will be hard for you to walk away from the person, even though you know it's dangerous for your life. So you further put yourself in danger by hooking up your spirit with this person. That's why it's so hard to part from people we know that is no good for us. So on the man's end, there could be a man who's dating somebody, and she lies and says that she's single. Or he could tell he could also say that she could also tell the guy that she is married, and the guy still messes with her, which is very dangerous as well. Because I was listening to watching a clip of a story where this guy was seeing a married woman, and he had the balls, or he was brave enough to go into her house while her husband was upstairs sleeping, to meet her downstairs to have sex with her. So the husband awoke and saw this. So what do you think was the end result? The guy was shot to death. All right. And that was the end of him. There was this man in another story somewhere in America. It could have been Vegas. These are all pretty recent in the last few years. These stories where the guy was dating a married woman who's going through a divorce. So he was with her and they went to go meet her husband, and the guy that was in the relationship with the married woman who's getting a divorce miscalculated that maybe her husband was okay with it and went with her, because he might have spoke to him on the phone and the guy was calm and non-threatening. So he went with her. You have to remind, the guy is seeing this and being like, this is my wife. Even though we're getting divorced, there's still that, connection or bond there. He shot the guy dead. That was the end of it. So do you see how this all could be a detriment to you? And keep in mind, people, sex is a spiritual thing. So that means there's spirits behind it. And I have to tell people this, the spirit, a lot of times we just be like, oh, how could this person do this? How do this person do that? How could they kill this person? We don't understand the spiritual aspects of the things that we are doing. And we are just, we live in a world where we have thrown all caution to the wind. We do not respect God's laws, and we think they mean absolutely nothing. Nothing could be further from, the truth. So, yeah, so that's how you could avoid all this stuff. Stop sleeping with these guys that you are not in a marriage with. Why am I always going to say this in every video? Pretty much, it is for your own protection. You don't know how much this protects you. It is one of the biggest asset of protection that you could give yourself in this life. This also goes for men too, because men also faces spiritual damage behind, this casual sex lifestyle that's become so popular in this world. You will protect your sanity. You will protect your peace of mind. You can think straight. It'll be easier for you to walk away from red flags and all the dangerous situations that we usually go headfirst on into because we have shacked up with someone before the correct time. So what I was trying to say before, I kind of missed my thought. The spirit of fornication, I have come to the conclusion that it is also the spirit of murder. Okay, so that's what I was trying to say. This is the spirit that's also behind the same spirit that's behind a lot of murder. Every time someone is murdered, it's not behind sex, obviously not. But there's a lot of people that are murdered behind sex. A lot of people end up in domestic violence, because they just decide to get together and live together, and they jump in bed together and they haven't vetted each other. That barrier is always crossed really quickly before the right time. If we just date and get to know each other and leave the sex out of it, it will be a much saner planet to live on. It is really that serious. And also, how is this the spirit of murder? It leads to the abortion clinic. I know we don't want to accept that abortion is murder. It's murder from day one, whether you just got pregnant today or you were pregnant 9 months ago. Whatever the case may be, from day one to the end, it is murder from beginning to end, because that's how we all started out. And if somebody had plucked us out at day one, we would not be here. So it's murder. It's a here, the word they use, termination. It's bringing to an end the life of someone that did not want to die and that was defenseless and couldn't defend themselves. And then you weren't ready for that pregnancy because it's a big deal. It's a huge responsibility, and so there you have it, why this is to be avoided. I know you want to have fun, but we live in a world where you cannot just do what you want to do and there won't be heavy consequences if you keep giving up your body outside of marriage. I know marriage is seen as a scourge, but I tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. It is seen as a scourge because of all the sex we keep having before we get married. That's why it seems like it's a scourge. That's why we hate each other so much. We're so miserable. Men and women can't stand each other and so forth. So keep out of love triangles. When you find out a man is with somebody, keep moving. All right. Don't sleep with him and it'll be easier for you to move on. Just keep moving because you do not want to be met at the end with a trigger pointing at you and the gun being pulled. This happens on a regular basis. And also a lot of unmarried people are in a lot of heavy domestic violence. They murder each other at alarming rates. The women get murdered at alarming rates. Their kids get murdered at alarming rates. Molestation to their children happening at an alarming rate. Abuse of all sorts to their children happening at an alarming rate. So you don't also put yourself in danger. You put your children in danger. You put your mental state in danger. This is also a heavy mental thing. Your peace of mind is very important. And choosing to sleep with people you have no commitment to is a way of disturbing your mental state. It could make you very dark and ugly, drive you to a very dark place because we're dealing with evil spirits here. All right. Remember that. I know a lot of people may scoff at this and be like, oh, I'm going to do what I want to do. I understand that. But keep in mind, we live in a world where our actions have consequences, and it trickles down to our children. So we have to cut out this sex out of marriage thing. It is destroying us at an alarming rate. All right, this is only for your own good. All right, so thank you. This video is for anyone that could use this information. As usual, this channel is not trying to bash anyone because everyone is pretty much suffering from this disease of sex out of marriage, or this cancer. It is a cancer that is slowly killing us at an alarming rate, not just physical death, but in an emotional state too. All right. So thank you so much. Anybody who needs this information, feel free to use it. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Okay, bye.